Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dana. Today we are going to be playing with a whole lot of Tim Holtz stuff. I've got some new stamps in, and of course I have to play with them and make some mixed media magic. To start out this card, I am using a piece of Canson watercolor paper, and I'm going to do a kind of a smushed background. I'm going to go ahead and smush it on my media mat. Real quick, shout out to Tonic. This thing is amazing. If you haven't gotten the glass mat, I highly recommend it. Bonus, they made one for left-handed people. As a left-handed person, that is amazing. Yes, I could have just, gotten the other one, turned it upside down, it would have been fine. But the fact that a company actually thought about making something specifically for left-handed people is absolutely amazing to me, and I love it. So huge shout out to Tonic and Tim Holtz for that. So anyway, back to the card. I'm going to be using a mix of Distress Oxide inks. I'm going to be using Tattered Rose, Victorian Velvet, Dusty Concord, and just a smidge of tea dye on this background. And I do have an extra piece of paper just to wipe up my extra ink so I don't waste any. Going in with my heat tool, I want to get that really crispy, as Tim Holtz would say. Using the Tim Holtz sprayer, I just lightly depressed the trigger just so that I get the water droplets on the background. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute just to get the ink to move, and then I'm going to wipe it off with a paper towel. I decided that I wanted to add a bit more of the Victorian Velvet into the background, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that in and then dry it off. Then I'm going to go in with the script stamp from the CMS053, and I'm going to add that into the background using Vintage Photo Distress ink. And I'm just haphazardly putting it on. I didn't want just full sentiment strips. I just wanted words kind of in random places to make it look a bit more distressed. Then I'm going to use this mini stencil from Tim Holtz. And I'm going to put some Crackle paste just on the left-hand side of the card front. And I'll go ahead and set that aside to dry. Now I'm going to be using the butterfly stamp from the CMS053. This is the perspective butterfly. This is just a plain piece of white cardstock. And I'm just inking that up with my Versamark clear ink. And I am going to heat emboss it. I completely spaced going in with my powder tool, but it's okay. It's a distressed mixed media card, so if there's a few pieces of embossing powder in random spots, it'll just add to the look. It's fine. And I'm using the rose gold embossing powder from Ranger. Then while I had all of my embossing stuff out, I'm going to go ahead and do the sentiments. I'm using this bold sentiment stamp set from Altenew, and I'm using the You're Amazing, My Friend, and those are two different sets here. I'm going to go ahead and ink them up in the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and then heat emboss them with clear embossing powder. Instead of using my paper trimmer, I decided just to cut them out with my scissors. I should hope as a hairstylist hairstylist in another life, I can cut a straight line. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you know. But of course, there's always the black marker if you goof it up. And I do go in on this one just to cover the white edges with my Memento black marker. Now I'm going to ink smush the butterfly, and I'm using the same colors only in the Distress inks versus the Oxide. So it's the Dusty Concord, the Victorian Velvet, and the Tattered Rose. And again, just using the excess ink on my little spare sheet of paper there. That will be a background for another card. Now that that's all good and dry, I'm gonna go and tear it up. I went ahead and tear along the outside of the butterfly, just leaving a little bit of a border. This is another way to quote unquote cut out the image without having to fussy cut it, because y'all know me, I'm not a fussy cutter, don't like it. And then I'm gonna go in and ink the edges with my tea dye Distress ink. And I'm going to glue those sentiment pieces on using my liquid glue on the bottom part of the butterfly. I'm just going to pop that up on some foam tape. Now that my background's dry, I'm going to go ahead and ink around the stenciled section just very, very lightly. My goal here was to just highlight the cracks from the Crackle paste, and I'm using the Vintage Photo Distress ink for that. And then I'll go ahead and ink around the edges as well. This is some washi tape I found in my stash. I am not sure who made this. It's old, like at least 10 years probably old. Judging from what I remember of what I used to buy frequently back then, this is either Tim Holtz or Seven Gypsies, one of the two. They probably don't make it anymore. Like I said, it's old. But I wanted to use that to kind of ground the butterfly image just a little bit. And then I wanted the edges to look really tattered and kind of beat up. So I just kind of scratched at them a little bit with my finger. And I'm just adhering the butterfly section over the top of that washi tape. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on a craft card base. If you haven't already, please go ahead and pamper that like button. I do greatly appreciate it. And if you're not, go ahead and subscribe. I try and upload videos at least twice a week. Don't have a set schedule yet, but I do at least upload a video at least twice a week. I'm trying to. We're working on it. And here's the final card. I am so pleased with how this turned out. I just love the colors. This is definitely a color combination I'll be using again. As usual, take some time to pamper your inner goddess. Self-care is so important, and I'll see you in the next one.